Live from tape, pre-recorded at our studios in Austin, Texas and Portland, Oregon, it's Syndicated with Lesley and Ben. Hi everyone, I'm the Ben of that.
And I'm the Lesley. This is a twice monthly podcast about television, genre, and storytelling in which we watch an episode of a show and explore the history of television one episode at a time.
We are joined by a phenomenal guest, a repeat guest, which is something we're want to do, as we found some incredible people on this show, and we like having them back to talk more about television. These very passionate people. We're joined once again by Rachel Collins. Rachel, hello.
Hi, how are y'all?
I'm doing quite well. I watched maybe the oldest thing I've watched in a long while just now. I'm really excited. I got to go onto YouTube and type in DICK space and watch the Dick Van Dyke Show. I'm very excited.
Oh, nice.
And hopefully that doesn't mess up my YouTube algorithm that much.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wholesome, honestly. Like it's not gonna get you a bunch of like weird ads for like shakes that make your balls bigger, or the Jawser size thing, or
well, then what was the point?
Yeah, dog,
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna get those from this. I get those because it's in my order history.
Oh, okay. I get them because I refuse to turn on ad preferences, so then I can complain about all of the PragerU shit that I get.
Of course. If you're just now tuning in, as I just mentioned, we're talking about the Dick Van Dyke Show, starring Dick Van Dyke, whose name I'm going to get tired of saying at some point. Mm-hmm. The Dick Van Dyke Show lasted 5 seasons back in the day on CBS from 1961 to 1966, right in the last wave of shows that were airing exclusively in black and white. So much so that one of my favorite shows from around that time period, Get Smart, had a black and white pilot and a color main series. That I think literally 66 was the last, literally like the cutoff point where it's like TV's in color now. Sorry.
Yeah.
We have moved on. And obviously that would, give us stuff like Star Trek from there on. The entire show was shot in black and white and features Dick Van Dyke as Rob Petrie, a television comedy writer for the fictional Alan Brady Show, which makes this the 4th show we've covered this season about the making of entertainment, next to the Larry Sanders Show, Slings and Arrows, and 30 Rock. Duh, there we go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, I guess news radio would also be counted in that, possibly.
Oh, yeah, you're right. News radio.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think when I was writing the script, I was thinking about, like, broadcasting. And added Slings and Arrows mentally just now. So,
okay.
4th about broadcast entertainment, 5th about making entertainment, period.
How about that? All right. Yeah, the show balances his work life with his coworkers, played by Richard Deacon, Rosemarie, and Maury Amsterdam, as well as his home life with Laura Petrie, who is frequently referred to as Laurie, only because that's what Dick Van Dyke ended up calling her on set. Laura Petrie is, of course, played by the incredibly talented Mary Tyler Moore, who would have her own show, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, in the 70s.
There's a winning combo there in having a host with 3 names. And just letting them do wacky shit on camera. Dick Van Dyke you may actually best know from his role as Bert in the classic Disney live-action musical Mary Poppins, which he filmed halfway through the production years of this show. And I was a little shocked to know that because, honestly, I saw black and white. I thought this show was from the 50s, and Mary Poppins must have been 10 years later. No. These were concurrent.
Same time. How about that?
Yeah, I had no clue. I thought it was like Disney getting Robin Williams for Aladdin like 10 years after he did his sitcom or something.
Oh,
but no, it was at the exact same time. Also, that is so firmly what I know Dick Van Dyke from that I forgot he's American.
Yeah,
like
famously very American, famously bad at British accent.
Yeah, his accent was very bad.
Look, I watched it
Not good.
Late this afternoon. And I had just like a brief flash of a moment where I was like, what's he doing this weird like Northeast accent? Oh, because no, I'm sorry, he's not British. Like, for some reason, I just thought that horrible Cockney accent from Mary Poppins was real for a moment. I'm tired.
I mean, if you watched it as a child, that's probably like where you first impressed upon like a British accent existing.
Yeah, this is what England people sound like.
Yeah, this is what chimney is. And there's also like penguins and stuff in the sidewalks in England. It's also sunny a lot, apparently.
Is that in the Mary Poppins movie? Is it in that?
Yeah, the whole animated sequence when they.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's a charmer.
Yeah, it's very cute.
I've never seen it somehow.
I've also seen a children's theater productions of Mary Poppins, and it's still cute.
It's a charmer. It's master of physical comedy Dick Van Dyke and sweetheart and star of the musical stage Julie Andrews.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's it's very 60s. It's very song and dance. But it's a fun time.
Well, I'll check it out. That hot new movie, Mary Poppins.
Well, they did make that sequel a while back in which Dick Van Dyke was still in.
Oh,
because he's still alive.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah,
that they did a sequel to that.
He's still alive. They did Mary Poppins Returns with what's her name, Emily Blunt and
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yep.
In which Dick Van Dyke shows up at the end as Lesley. This will mean nothing to you as you have not seen the movie, but he shows up at the end as the new chair of the bank that the dad works for. Implied, I guess, maybe to be the son of the original or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
But, he's an impossibly old man because Dick Van Dyke is like 90.
He's 95, actually.
95, good Lord.
Yeah, he's 95. Like, he was born in like 20-something. Like, yeah.
I guess it would have had to have been like 26. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Shows up as an impossibly old man with his weird, like, lanky arms and everything and does a full-blown song and dance number as Dick Van Dyke.
Well, okay then.
And, excuse me, as a banker, rather, not as Dick Van Dyke himself. Although every character he's playing is Dick Van Dyke, really.
Fair. All right. Also, the show was shot on at Desilu Studios, which is definitely not the last time that we'll be hearing from that company because that is Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball's production company, most famously, obviously, from I Love Lucy.
Yeah, so much so that well, I guess maybe we'll get into that later when we kind of talk about the legacy of this show. But I thought the set from the first episode of WandaVision was the I Love Lucy apartment.
Uh-huh.
And no, it's the Dick Van Dyke apartment.
It is.
And I didn't realize that because there's like, I think on I Love Lucy, there's like maybe 3 different locations that are like the main set over the course of the years of that show, which obviously lasted for a long time.
Yeah, there's the main apartment, there's the club that Ricky works at. Sometimes there's Ethel's apartment, and other times there's like outside shots.
Oh, I just meant because in later seasons they moved to a house in like Connecticut.
Oh yeah. When they go to the suburbs, when little Ricky gets bigger or something.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it's like a full-blown toddler that plays the role at that point. Yeah, there's whole seasons of that show that just don't take place in New York anymore.
Yeah.
The show is created by Carl Reiner, who we tragically lost only last year. Carl Reiner was a mastermind of popular television in the 60s and 70s and had a career behind the scenes and in front of the camera that lasted decades. Carl Reiner would appear as Alan Brady, originally a non-appearing character, in later seasons of this very show. That career really is phenomenal, starting with variety shows in the 50s, leading all the way up to, he was still working as of like 5 years before his death.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal how much stuff Carl Reiner was in. Interestingly enough, a writer on this show as well, Gary Marshall, who would go on to produce a lot of the 70s sitcoms, including Happy Days and whatnot.
Yeah. Just a lot of heavy hitters that started out right here shortly before.
We talk on this show like a lot about how one thing will lead into another, how there's like threads of I don't know. This feels like the start of 2 extremely major threads, which is all of Carl Reiner's career, all of Gary Marshall's career. Hell, all of Mary Tyler Moore's career as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cool to see that in motion like that.
Yeah, it is really cool. I agree with you.
Last but not least, the episode that we watched today was To Tell or Not to Tell. Years after giving it up to start a family, Lori gets a chance to dance while hosting Rob's coworkers over for a talent show. When a dancer at the Alan Brady Show, the variety program Rob works for, is temporarily unable to perform, Rob's boss and producer Mel offers Lori the chance to perform professionally again. This, despite Buddy Sorrell's warnings that Lori working again will lead to the collapse of the two's marriage, which leads to the critical question, should women have jobs?
Definitely something I was questioning while watching this episode.
Are they allowed? Look, part of it's a little regressive, obviously, but like the regressiveness isn't like the writing of the whole show, it's the regressiveness of one character's shitty opinions.
Yeah. And like I feel, over the course of the show, the way they handle it isn't like ladies should stay at home and raise the kids. It's, like Laura on her own is like very excited to do the thing, and then it's like, I actually don't want to do this all the time. It kind of sucks having to commute and go to work and do all this other stuff when I can like do my house stuff. Because, yeah.
Of course. To which I can only say, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
I don't like commuting.
Yeah.
I don't like answering emails. Every day I gotta answer emails.
I mean, honestly, Rob and Maury never had to answer an email.
That is true.
Better off for it.
Not once.
Not once. Which leads to this second actual critical question that we usually ask at this point in the show, which is, Rachel, why the Dick Van Dyke Show?
I was trying to. The theme for this season is workplace comedies.
Workplace comedies.
And yeah, I was trying to think of like what would be, to me, one of the like workplace comedies. And I was really thinking for a long time, other than MASH is kind of like a variation on the theme of workplace, of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which is phenomenal and funny and great and holds up brilliantly. But then I was like, well, if I want to do the Mary Tyler Moore Show, let's just go back to the Dick Van Dyke Show, just as kind of like the start for that kind of like journey along. And, it was like, I had probably late last year, revisited Dick Van Dyke just, on a whim because it was on Hulu. And I was like, yeah, let me just fuck around and watch some Dick Van Dyke, and like genuinely laughed at some of the jokes. And like, the bit where, like every few episodes there'll be a different, like, the opening where Rob will trip over the ottoman. Or he'll avoid tripping over it. Like those kind of little nuggets is like, Dick Van Dyke is like an immensely charming person to watch. Like his physicality is charming and his face is charming. And like, even when, Buddy says like some weird asshole thing to him, Dick is not an asshole. He's just kind of gullible, like easily swayed. And I was like, no, I do kind of want to like get into this, because it's not quite father knows best, but it's also not quite like dad's a dum-dum. It's kind of like dad is a person who has a job. His coworkers are also a type of family that he has, that aren't quite his children, but also kind of his children. Right. And just, kind of like bridging that kind of gap and not showing necessarily like home is one separate sphere and work is one separate sphere. Just kind of showing how like they bleed into each other.
Yeah, that was in my notes, is that like the two spheres of his world are not entirely separate.
Yeah.
That like this starts at like a house party, a talent show. And like kind of for a moment I was like, oh, do I have the right one or whatever? Because it wasn't particularly officey for the first like 5 or so minutes. And until it, it switches over there eventually, and they are quite literally having like a water cooler conversation at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just interesting. Maybe that's a little antiquated. I don't know. Has anyone had their boss over for dinner in the last 20 years? Anyone here?
No. Although that was also a plot point on WandaVision, which is quite in the first episode.
Right, is quite funny. My mom has, but also like her and her boss, have been like, friends off and on for a long time. And I've been over to my boss's house for dinner for, at previous jobs before. But I don't think I've had bosses that would like deign to come to my home.
Right. Yeah, if any higher up at my company was like, hey, Ben, I think you should host this time, I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I've actually just quit. That's too much pressure, and I shan't be doing it.
Yeah.
This was fun, but I'm out.
Damn, good thing I haven't cashed in that PTO yet. No, I'm good. No, it's just it's interesting that this character has he has a home life that involves his coworkers, and he has those same coworkers like in the office environment.
Yeah.
Maybe that fluidity is maybe not universal, and it also feels a little bit antiquated. I don't know. I've got a couple work friends that I hang out with, but I've never had I've certainly never invited a supervisor to my house.
Sure, that's just weird.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't kidding earlier when I said that he is a master of physical comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, howdy does that come through, especially since we get to watch an entire sequence of him pantomiming for like a solid minute or two.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just really brilliant to look at. Like, I don't know, he's just such a, like, looking at pictures of Dick Van Dyke is like, he's just kind of a weird, plain horse face looking man, but then he like moves his eyes or mouth any degree, and it is as though it is like the sculptor's clay just morphing into something completely different. Like,
he has such a weird expressive face.
Yeah,
he's so good.
It's like he's got extra muscles or something in there, like to make all of these like micro expressions that are also like huge and conveyable, even on like shitty black and white grainy like film.
Extra muscles that we lay people don't have.
Yeah,
right. Like Freddie Mercury has extra teeth, which helped his vocal range.
Right.
So does Dick Van Dyke's weird facial muscles. Make him one of the funniest looking dudes in television history.
It just like he's just a normal enough looking dude with some big-ish teeth, but like he can do like a little bit of a smile. It's like oh he's smiling Britishly. I don't know what that means.
You know when you see it. You know when you see it.
It really does go to show like why he had such like a popular like family movie career.
Yeah.
Also, because there was like a clownishness to him that like children obviously respond to, or else he would not have been in things from like Mary Poppins and Night at the Museum and all that kind of stuff. He is. Look. This is an insult that has kind of been readopted for the internet age, and I don't mean it as an insult. It's truly a compliment. He's a real clown. He's a real clown man.
Well, and
I mean that as nicely as possible and as complimentary about his professional skills as I mean it.
Well, I mean, like that's also the thing. Like, clowning is a very particular set of skills, and like being able to do clowning, and just kind of like it doesn't look as though he went to like actual clown school or really studied theater. He's just naturally good at it, and like really a great dancer as well.
Absolutely, undoubtedly. Lesley, what do you think about this show?
Definitely a product of its time. I do think there were a couple of things in particular that stuck out to me. I do kind of think that Laura's decision to not take the job and to stay at home because doing housework is easier, I think probably was a writer's room invention to discourage women at the time from wanting to do things, because it's so tiring to do things. Don't you just want to stay at home and do the housework? And, it was an interesting glimpse into the way that society viewed marriage and gender roles and that sort of thing back in that day, and what was found to be acceptable back in that day. Another thing that really struck me was the scene where Laura comes in and she comes into the office and she's wearing the leotard, and the deli salesman man is like talking about her appearance, and so Rob is like, no, she's a married woman. The guy's like, well, not today. Today she's a girl, and I was like, ugh. Yeah. That didn't feel very good. It's so interesting to see how do I put this? It's so interesting to see something so groundbreaking through a regressive lens of what has changed since then. It was just such an interesting juxtaposition of seeing like this physical comedy, these, breakthrough jokes, all of that kind of stuff, coming from a source that is in other ways quite questionable in its values, but was acceptable back then. So it really is a lesson in kind of taking the good with the bad when it comes to watching legacy television and when it comes to watching programs that are just an indelible part of this medium that we love called television.
Totally. I mean, that's the thing is when you try for like a more progressive stance, you kind of also at the same like, sorry, let me start that thought over because I think there's a critical caveat here. In narrative media, when you are trying to showcase a progressive stance, in this case, like, oh, it should be her right to choose, that kind of, there was half a Dick Van Dyke impression and it wasn't good. It should be her right to choose and all that, whether or not she wants to pursue a job or be or just stay at home or whatnot. It has to be contrasted against another character that thinks the opposite of that.
Right.
So that you can have the tension in the episode. I wanted to specify I meant in narrative media because I don't believe that about the news.
Yeah.
You are correct.
The last 20 years I've been hearing from a lot of climate change deniers and I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
I meant in narrative media, you have to create that contrast. In the news, you should report the facts.
Correct.
Anyway, there are plenty of setups, but Lesley Knope and Ron Swanson, like that kind of stuff of like, a character has to play that kind of role.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, throughout the series, you kind of see like that kind of play out. There's a later episode called, I want to say Sally is a Girl, where Sally, the gal writer on the show, like Laura notices that she's a little down in the dumps and maybe she needs a boyfriend. And so, the charge that Laura makes is for, the guys to treat Sally like she's one of the girls. And then it just kind of like fucks up their whole dynamic and she's deeply uncomfortable with it when she notices it. And so, the moral of that story is, treat people as they wish to be treated, but also in a weird roundabout way.
We got to the right ends. I don't know about these weird means that got in the way.
Yeah. And I think that's, like, that's really kind of the thing with a lot of this, 60, almost 70-year-old media that I keep finding myself drawn to is like, yes, let me watch the very old television. Let me see how this pans out. It's like, if it's good and it holds up and it's not just like you're gritting your teeth to get through it, there's going to be those like dip moments, like the coffee cart guy commenting on her body. Or that kind of shit. But yeah, it's like, it's also, you'll still see shit like that in, shows from the 90s or the early 2000s. It's like,
oh yeah,
we were just shooting in the streets for a long time, huh? Just like real not thinking about it.
Yeah, that's like thinking back on Ugly Betty, for example. It's another workplace comedy, actually. Thinking back on Ugly Betty, for example, they had, a trans woman character, and that was complicated because it wasn't handled well about 90% of the time, but they handled it with a level of respect and awareness that also was not seen on TV yet at that point. So it's kind of like, it's, I guess you just gotta, crawl before you can walk in some cases.
Yeah. And, like it's one of those things that it did make sense for Laura to not want to work on the show full time, because also who wants to work with their husband?
Yeah.
And, but also the older I get and the more I like work and can't make time for chores and feeding myself and stuff, I'm like, No, actually, it makes a lot of sense for one person to do chores, because if you can afford to have, somebody do chores, that is a 40-hour week there.
Which also
Yeah.
goes back to why we shouldn't be working 40-hour work weeks right now anyway, because we're all doing it on our own. Whereas back when
Yeah.
40-hour work weeks were invented, there were these roles involved
Yeah.
where the person who was doing the breadwinning didn't also have to do his own laundry or cook his meals or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it was a Tumblr post or something that someone pointed out, like, yeah, how am I meant to do all of the, how am I meant to keep everything clean, home cook every night, yada yada yada, while I'm also working, and like literally the next comment was like, you're not.
Yeah, you're literally not.
Because the only way that this 40-hour week society worked is under the presumption that only half of any given household needed to work.
Yeah.
Because salaries, y'all remember salaries? Some of us have
I
salaries.
I have a salary.
Okay, I'm a wage worker. Anyway.
I'm also a wage worker.
Cheers.
Yeah.
You're still valid, Lesley. You're not going to die in the revolution. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry, they probably pay you salary so that they don't have to pay you hourly.
That's probably true.
But yeah, they're arguing like, yeah, this operated under the presumption that like you had someone at home that was taking care of this for you. And also that your single salary was enough to support a spouse and 3 kids and a suburban home and all that and yada yada yada.
Yeah,
sure.
And many of those factors have changed, and yet the wage hasn't gone up.
Crazy how that works. Yeah.
So wild.
So really, Dick Van Dyke is a workplace show about entertainment industry that's about communism.
I would argue many workplace comedies.
Sure, there are definitely some undertones.
Oh yeah,
in a workplace comedy.
I mean, I think a lot of like, I mean, we still have a handful of episodes to go in this season, but I think like by and large, like there are the shows that like glamorize the job. And I think Slings and Arrows and 30 Rock certainly do that. But
sure.
I mean, there are also a lot of jobs that like, or excuse me, there are a lot of workplace comedies that are like, God, doesn't this suck?
Yeah, isn't this kind of the worst?
Oh, you know what my roommates and I started watching literally last night? Is Miracle Workers.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
Steve Buscemi, Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, that's the one about like God, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and it kind of takes the, look, it's a premise that's in a handful of things, including our friend Jeff Martin's webcomic, Hell Inc., but also like in The Good Place and whatnot, which is what if the afterlife were a bureaucracy? And, if The Good Place is like, like look at all the, I don't know, look at how sweet humanity is or whatever. In some cases, that's not the entire message of The Good Place. You know what I mean? Miracle Workers is like, God, jobs suck, huh?
Yeah.
Jobs suck and humans suck. Fuck this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. Also, Steve Buscemi is a delight. I don't know if anyone's told you this. Steve Buscemi's really funny.
Yeah, he really
He's
is.
very funny.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think there are plenty of workplace comedies that are like, boy, I sure wish this were different. Either by making like, the boss character an asshole, or making it so work clearly cuts into like the hero's personal life, or any number of things. We laugh at it because it's terrible.
Yeah, in this show, like the job itself, because I think I think part of it is that this is the post-war era. Really, there's other episodes talking about when when Rob and Laura met was during World War II at a USO show, and so like that kind of post-war kind of mentality comes into play with like Rob's boundaries with his coworkers, and the appreciation that this kind of work is good and easy, and maybe the boss isn't, but overall it's like it's a pretty good ride for him.
Well, I think anyone's job looks good after war.
Yeah, I think after
that's fair.
Yeah. Now, granted, I mean, this is 61, but even so, that's less than 15 years. That's
yeah.
If he fought during the war, he's what, 40 now on the dot? That's wrong. He's 45 probably.
Okay.
Maybe. Or maybe it was the Korean War. I don't remember.
Oh, shit. I guess it could be, couldn't it?
Yeah, because that would have been the 50s.
Yeah.
So that would have been like 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Korean War is 51 through 53, I believe.
Yeah.
You're right. So, yeah, he could be pretty much like 30.
Yeah.
Who?
Which, as a 37-year-old, I was like, wow, you sure did do a lot. Okay, well, actual Dick Van Dyke served in World War II.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm messing up, because he's clearly older.
Yeah.
Because he's, 40 or so.
Yeah.
95. Just kidding, I got jokes.
Well, it's so weird, because every once in a while, and Rachel, you and I have discussed this on the Infinity Break Discord from time to time, which is every once in a while it'll come up that, like, the cast of Seinfeld is all meant to be 28.
Yeah.
Or, like, everyone in Cheers was in their early 30s, late 20s. I'm like, I feel like an ancient crone.
I just don't know about
age
that.
Years, and you guys, woof.
Yeah, it'll be like, oh yeah, John Ratzenberg is playing 31 at the start of Cheers. So I'm like, huh, okay, sure. And then the follow-up fact is because he was 31. And I'm like, no, that's not right.
It just looked like that back then, man. I don't know what it was, but they just...
And everyone smoked indoors.
Yeah, and so you just looked like that. Plus, they all had to wear, like, those weird sweater vests or whatever. Like, that always ages people. So it's just how they looked back then, dude.
Yeah.
The funniest follow-up I've ever seen to that is, I have bad news for you about what your boyfriends look like without beards.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
And I recently accidentally shaved my beard off, looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, all right, I belong on Cheers, I guess.
Wow.
When did Vietnam start? 58, I want to say?
Yeah, something like that. Like, so
well,
Vietnam was concurrent with, yeah.
Yeah, I guess this is all the post-war period, and, there was a draft all the way up until our current wars, our current forever wars.
The internet says it started in 55.
55. Good Lord. All right, earlier than I thought.
Yeah. It's 20 years long.
Wow.
55 to 75. How about that?
20-year-long war. Couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, don't know what that's like at all.
Yeah, we'll never forget.
What that could possibly be like. Folks, date of recording is September 12th, 2021.
Gracious.
I'm probably already on several lists somewhere.
It's like, but this is still like the post-war period. And obviously, there's like two concurrent wars that kind of like just happened in this time period. And yeah, I mean, that's in the DNA of like a lot of this kind of material. I mean, obviously it's in the DNA of MASH, the other show that you've come on here to talk about, but it's definitely, here as well. Leslie and I were just talking about this in a Patreon thing that we recorded, which is that I was watching Better Call Saul, and at no point do they bring up, which, takes place in 2004 and was released in like 2016 or so, and
something
at no
like
point
that,
does the war on Iraq or the war on Afghanistan or the war on terror or 9/11 or George Bush or the Patriot Act or any kind of that sort of early 2000 stuff come up.
Yeah.
And I remarked in that little piece of bonus content that would be like if they released television that came out in 1960 or whatever and no one was a veteran.
Yeah.
It would just be ahistorical because like 1 in every 4 guys was in the war.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Jeez, yeah. Any hoozle, not to talk about that old chestnut.
No, the different old chestnut, World War II and or the Korean War.
There we go. Everything old is new again.
It's just so interesting how like cemented in that time period it is. Obviously, like it's unavoidable to you can't not talk about it in 1960.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the show comes out, and obviously, yeah, it's in the their meet cute is during a war because she was a USO dancer.
Oh yeah. And I do think it's I do think it's really, really fascinating to look at shows like this, and particularly one that has continued to be touted as one of the greatest comedies of all time. And I see why, and it makes sense why, and I agree with it. And to also be like, but the jokes are really sexist at times. And there was the jokes had some stuff that just didn't hold up very well, but that was 60 years ago. So what are you going to do?
Remember how we talked about news radio and how we talked about how it was kind of theatrical?
Yep.
That, you know, had like a bit of a theater element. There's like a lot of vaudeville in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, the physical comedy was just top notch. I completely agree with you.
The first 5 minutes are a vaudeville routine. Like, it's
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
between Buddy and Sally doing literally a like Laurel and Hardy ass,
Mm.
like, you know, two flies in the desert, two camels in the desert. Okay, two camels are in the desert.
Yes.
You know, whack-a-mole routine or whatever. Great rule of threes there, where he's continually the one who gets hit, even though he thinks he has the upper hand. That's some good Looney Tunes ass nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
You know, that's obviously very vaudevillian. You know, then it switches over to Dick Van Dyke doing his elaborate pantomime routine. Then it switches over to Mary Tyler Moore doing her dance routine. And it's funny that, like, this is a show, I presume I mean, it's a variety show, right? It's like a weekly variety show is how it sounds.
Yeah, it's like a comedy talk show variety show thing.
So if the Ed Sullivan Show was like weekly.
Yeah.
Instead of nightly. What? Was it weekly?
The Ed Sullivan Show?
Yeah.
No.
I have no clue. I realize I'm so accustomed to all of our late night hosts being nightly programs that it just occurred to me I have no clue whether or not the Ed Sullivan Show was a nightly or weekly program.
It was. I don't know because. I don't know because it says on Wikipedia that we had 24 seasons and 1,068 episodes.
My brain is not ready for that math.
Me either. My brain is also not ready for that math. So
it does look like it was weekly based on questions other people ask on.
Okay.
Was Ed Sullivan on Sunday nights? What night of the week was the Ed Sullivan Show on? Why was Ed Sullivan canceled?
Wow. All right.
Because he did it for 24 years.
Because it was, how much more do you want?
It's so funny when people phrase it like that. Like, it wasn't canceled. He didn't want to do it anymore.
Like, I mean,
like, you know, it's canceled if it stops before its time. After 25 years, you're allowed to do something else.
That's very, very true.
It was canceled due to its appealing predominantly to older audiences and senior citizens.
Yeah, because 24 years ago when it started, those people were, you know, in their 30s or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. God, there's so many early Spider-Man comics where, like, Aunt May mentions, like, oh, you know, you be safe, Peter. I'm going to go watch the Sullivan Show.
Jeez.
Because that's the topical reference of the era.
Sure.
And yeah, wow. Right around then in the 70s, obviously, is when Johnny Carson takes over.
Yep.
Anyway, so I guess essentially they are just doing the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. All of that to say.
All of that to say. Anyway, it's so fascinating that, yeah, like they're doing a weekly variety comedy show, i.e. like that, in the form of the Alan Brady Show. And the first 5 minutes of this are essentially an extended vaudeville routine. To the point where I was confused about the tone of this episode because they hadn't left the home set yet. I texted Lesley to double check. I'm like, this one starts with a dance number, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Even in the scenes that aren't that, there's still like a pretty intense vaudeville energy.
Yeah.
You know, the same that's in news radio a little bit of, like, you know, close-ups are a little rarer. You know, things are pretty much shot in the wide or shot in two shots. And it's just like a lot of kind of like back and forth, you know, joke, weird reaction face.
Yeah. And I feel like that is part of like just how early television was shot. Just because, you know, trying to figure out how to do television, I was like, well, it's like a play, right? It's just like a play you watch in your house, right? It's not, because it's not like a movie. We know what movie is.
Right. Yeah, this was just a more convenient way for people to watch plays. Like, that's kind of how sitcoms and shows of this ilk started, really, was being able to, I mean, think about it, you know, it's sort of the same as thinking about like radio plays and stuff like that. Like,
and honestly, it would be a waste of Dick Van Dyke's like putty face to like have him do radio.
Yeah, but it's always been kind of a way to figure out how to get this tried and true play sort of format to the masses in whatever technological way is booming these days, and that was television at the time. So
Yeah, that's why that's in the DNA of TV, and is to this day, with like even tonight shows, rather sorry, late night shows, including the
yeah,
Tonight Show, can draw their legacy all the way back to kind of like vaudeville routines with like a band off to the side, um, and all that kind of stuff, is because like when they were creating television, they were like, yeah, the television studio lights are extremely hot. There are a lot of rapid, fast minute changes. We need people who are adaptable,
hmm
who can vamp, who can hit their marks with very little notice. Who
yeah,
do we know who can do that? Oh, traveling vaudevillians.
yeah. That's very
Who
true.
who is not afraid to be a
Who
weird, sweaty clown and can dance and take cue and follow
Yeah.
carny law, which means they won't get too mad when we cannot pay them.
Yeah, exactly. And then they hired those guys into TV,
Yeah,
and then then eventually there was a crop of people who were training specifically for TV. But like that, if we're talking about DNA, that DNA never left television.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
television
definitely.
is just always been like all of entertainment is carnies all the way down. Let's just be honest about
It's
it.
just carnies all the way down.
It's just yeah, it's just weird fake handshakey rules, and maybe they don't kill you technically, but you just go on to the next town and hope somebody's impressed there.
That's
Right,
amazing.
totally.
I
The
love
next
it.
network in this
Yeah.
case. Man, we settled for Syndicated when we could have done Carnies all the way down with Lesley and Ben.
Honestly, we could always rename them. We can always rebrand, Ben.
You'll get royalties, Rachel, I promise.
Carnies all the way down.
Just have a show with me on it explaining how something is actually carnies. Oh,
Carnies.
this is actually carny law.
Yeah, but anyway, it has that comedic pattern. That's all I was getting at. It's just funny to see how that's like evolved over time, and obviously there are different ways to shoot comedy these days, especially television comedy.
hmm
I just watched like The Righteous Gemstones, which
Oh,
is
it's so good.
uh,
I've
uh,
not seen
just
it. I really need to. It's definitely on the list. It is on. It is on the list.
I hand to God, I think we can talk about it for the show on a technicality,
Fair
or like
enough.
for this season. I mean, on a
Sure, sure.
technicality.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, anyway, yeah, but that's certainly the root of comedy, the root of like comedy as like a codified process, and not just comedy as like jokes around the caveman campfire.
Right.
Yeah, it's just cool to see how it evolves.
Yeah.
Cool to, like I said about like the lines of people's careers and whatnot. It's cool to see where this all came from, and it's cool to see where it's all going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite jokes?
Favorite joke? Well, there. I mean, I guess that it's hard for me to call it a favorite joke, I guess,
Mhm.
because so many of the jokes that were not a product of their time were obviously the physical jokes. Those were going to have to be my favorite, just based on that. But if I were to choose one, um, when uh, when Rob was making dinner, uh, and obviously was unable to do so, um, and he ended up having to give his child a banana. That felt pretty great. It
Right.
felt great for them to acknowledge that while a lot of it is when a woman's place is in the home or whatever. It felt good for them to acknowledge at least that they believe that the reason for that is that men are absolute pants at it. So I think that it showing us a shortcoming was definitely a great thing, and I was a huge fan of that scene in
Yeah.
particular, like the frozen meatball, like being plonked on the table, um, and then finding increasingly less enticing solutions until finally they had bananas. And then of course later, when Laura asks what's for dinner, he's like bananas. I don't know. Thought it was great.
That does actually leave me with sorry, maybe we can get back to favorite jokes in a moment, but that does leave me with the thought of like incredibly charismatic actors like Dick Van Dyke have to play roles that require them to be incredibly charismatic, and
Okay.
that like sitcom dads can't like be accountants. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or if they are pencil pushers, then they have to be extraordinary in other ways.
Exactly. Because otherwise, okay, I'll be honest, when we started this show, or rather when I started the episode, I couldn't remember what his job was supposed to be. So when he started doing like all this elaborate pantomime, I'm like, I forgot he worked in entertainment. And I was just like, what the hell does this, what are if he's not like the star of the show, like what does he do? You know what I mean? I'll spit after I say his name, but like, the same reason like Tim Allen plays like, that he's playing like a public television host or whatever
right.
in Home Improvement. And if you put a charismatic actor in a non-charismatic role in a sitcom, something's not working.
Yeah.
Is that why they made Kevin James a UPS driver in King of Queens?
Yes, it is. I think it is. I think so.
Are you arguing he's not as charismatic then?
Ben.
Yeah, sorry. I should say something not just like non-shadily.
Yes. That is exactly what Rachel is implying. You are correct. You picked up what she put down, and that's
whereas Raymond in Everybody Loves Raymond was a sportscaster.
Right. So yeah, they have to play charismatic people because that's how you like lean into the comedy. We had a real good, the bad, and the ugly standoff there where none of us wanted to admit Kevin James was unfunny right away.
Right, which is very weird because we will be very blasé about many people on here. But suddenly we're like, Kevin James is off limits to talk shit about for some reason. What was that about? That was weird.
I was trying to think of like who else was on that show, and like so it was Kevin James and Leah Remini, and like Patton Oswalt was on it, and like Patton Oswalt is like, he's very funny, but I don't know if I would call him charismatic, if that makes sense.
Patton Oswalt is funny, but he leans on his awkwardness to be funny, and he plays a lot of characters that are awkward in some way. And I think that is so kind of the opposite of charismatic, I guess. But yeah.
Well, it's a slightly different type of charismatic. But even like, we covered Scrubs as one of our first episode. But even like JD is the funny doctor.
That's true.
He's not, or Gary Shandling plays like he's a grump. He doesn't like, he doesn't actually like doing his job that much. He's always thinking about quitting. It's that kind of stuff. You got to like lean into the charismaticness of it, or else it's like just not funny.
Yeah.
If some of the roles that these people were played like, the people actually are, if they were to play him as the boring office drone, like what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, just made me think about that. Just like, because if he wasn't a television writer, like what the hell would someone like Dick Van Dyke do in that world?
That's true. That's
a fair
point.
He could be like an accountant, but he's also like insufferable. Like you would not want him to be your accountant. He would just always be trying to do a bit, and that's where the workplace would come into. It's like, well, can you just tell me if I have money or not? And you do like some handsy facey close up magic Carney shit. Like,
sure. See, it all comes back to it's full circle. It's a full Carney circle.
Close-up magic accountant is a little too close to what Lesley actually does. My favorite joke was just Buddy says something to the effect of like, now don't be rash about this, and it was just like, but it's his rash to deal with. Short, sweet, funny as hell. Good.
But that goes back to the breakthrough, jokes that I was talking about earlier. That's a great example, Ben. So
yeah,
good on you for having good taste.
Yeah, it's a solid 1-2 punch.
Sure is.
Rachel, how about you?
Honestly, like I can't think of any specific like joke that got me for it. Like talking about this episode, I just keep remembering like physical vignettes. Like I really like it started extremely strong with the fucking vaudeville shit at the beginning.
The first 5 minutes, really.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm gonna stick with. I think that's what my answer is gonna be. Is the like the Laurel and Hardy bit that they did.
I love that answer so much. I love that because not only do I absolutely agree, and I mentioned earlier that the physical comedy was just such a great thing, but each of us found one different type of defining joke that the Dick Van Dyke Show did very well to choose as our favorite one, which I think is beautiful.
Totally. I think that's about all we have to say about things, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Folks, my name is Ben Hamlin. You can find me online at Ben C. Hamlin. It is BenChamlin. Over on Twitter.com. You can check out my other podcast, Parascience. That's a paranormal tabletop show right here on InfinityBreak.net. You can check out all of our work at InfinityBreak.net, where we're telling stories our own way. Lesley, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Vanetti. I will be back probably pretty soon because I'm getting very bored. So you can definitely find me on Twitter, taking a small hiatus, but we'll be back at some point in the very near future. I talk about all sorts of stuff, and all of it is interesting and cool and fun.
And Rachel, thank you so much for joining us again. It's a blast to talk about television.
Yeah, always
with
a
you.
pleasure. If you're looking for me, I don't make it hard to find me. I'm, my handle for everything is Rachel the THEC, and just throw that wherever. I think I have like a Peach account, still sitting around, or MeWe, or any of these other
Check me out on Friendster.
I never got on Friendster, but I think I'm Rachel Bissey on MySpace. I do not know how to log into my MySpace. If you hack into it, let me know on Twitter. I would.
That was a good one.
The photographs of me in my 20s.
I would like to change my nomination for my favorite joke. That was a good one.
Anyway, absolute pleasure talking to you.
Always such a blast.
I'm sure we'll have you back for next season when we talk about adult animation. Yeah, I think that covers everything for now, folks. This is Syndicated with Lesley and Ben. You can find us online at InfinityBreak.net. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/InfinityBreak. In the last little bit, Lesley and I have released 2 almost hour-long bonus contents of just us talking about television.
Yeah,
specifically talking about the Disney Marvel shows and talking about crime shows. I'm sure we'll do a full crime season in the future, especially because everyone's talking about The Wire these days with the tragic passing of Michael K. Williams. But we talked about Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, and Better Call Saul in there. So,
you should. It was a good time. You should listen.
Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/InfinityBreak. That's about everything. We only have 1 or 2 episodes left here in our season about workplace comedies, and we're hopping into adult animation. Sounds like we're finishing the season strong, though. I'll make sure those plans are locked in before I announce them. But anyway, you're in for a treat. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next Monday.
See ya.
Bye-bye.